Most Omegas dream of being marked. I spent 10 years pretending I couldn't be. The lie started small: a forged medical document, a few carefully placed rumors, a life rebuilt on the fiction that I was nothing more than an ordinary beta. No scent to tempt, no heat to endure, no bond to break me. My name is Min-jun Park, and I've been invisible for so long I almost forgot what it felt like to be seen. Almost. Until tonight, when everything I'd built came crashing down in the span of a single heartbeat. I stood in the shadows of the Grand Ballroom in the Lycaean Tower, Chicago's most exclusive venue, watching the Triplet Alpha Kings hold court like they owned not just the room, but the very air we breathed. And maybe they did. The Choi brothers, Dae-hyun, Jae-sung, and Tae-min commanded attention the way gravity commanded falling. You didn't have a choice. You just fell. Dae-hyun, the eldest by 7 minutes, stood at the center, his presence a wall of controlled power. Dark suit tailored to perfection, jaw sharp enough to cut, eyes like black glass that missed nothing. He was the strategist, the one who calculated every move 3 steps ahead. Jae-sung, the middle son, leaned against the bar with deceptive ease, a half smile playing on his lips as he listened to some council member drone on about border treaties. Charming, dangerously so. He was the diplomat, the one who made you feel like you mattered right before he gutted you with words softer than silk. And Tae-min, God, Tae-min. The youngest stood slightly apart, hands in his pockets, surveying the room with an intensity that made my skin prickle even from across the ballroom. Where Dae-hyun was ice and Jae-sung was fire, Tae-min was the storm you never saw coming, impulsive, protective, lethal when provoked. I'd been watching them for 3 years. 3 years of serving on the executive staff of the Lycaeon Corporation, the Choi family's empire that controlled half the pack alliances in North America. 3 years of keeping my head down, my scent locked away, my heat suppressants carefully timed. 3 years of pretending my wolf didn't howl for them every single night. I adjusted the tray of champagne flutes in my hands, moving through the crowd with practiced invisibility. That was the thing about being perceived as a beta in a world ruled by alphas and omegas. You became background noise. Useful, forgettable, safe, or so I thought. Refill, I offered to a group of visiting diplomats, my voice neutral. Professional. They barely glanced at me before taking fresh glasses. Perfect. I was halfway back to the service corridor when I felt it a prickle at the base of my skull, the unmistakable sensation of being watched. My steps faltered. I risked a glance over my shoulder. Tae-min's gaze locked onto mine across 30 feet of polished marble and expensive bodies. My heart stopped. For 3 years I'd been careful, never made eye contact, never lingered too long in their presence, never gave them a reason to notice the administrative assistant who filed their reports and organized their schedules with quiet efficiency. But now Tae-min was staring at me like he'd just discovered something fascinating and dangerous. His head tilted slightly, nostrils flaring. No, 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 no. I turned away, forcing my breathing to steady, willing my traitorous body not to react. The suppressants were working. They had to be working. I'd taken a double dose this morning just to be safe. Excuse me. The voice came from directly behind me, low and smooth as aged whiskey. I froze. Slowly I turned. Jae-sung stood less than 2 feet away, that dangerous smile still in place. But his eyes were alert, searching. Yes, sir. I kept my voice level, respectful. Everything a beta should be when addressing an alpha of his standing. You're Min-jun Park, correct? From the administrative division? Yes, sir. Strange. He took a half step closer. I don't recall seeing you at these functions before. I prefer to stay behind the scenes, or sir, less distracting. The sound was thoughtful, almost amused. And yet, here you are, front and center. One of the servers called in sick. I was asked to cover. It wasn't a lie, not technically, but the way Jae-sung's eyes narrowed told me he could taste the omission. How dedicated. Another step. close enough now that I could smell him cedarwood and winter rain, with an undercurrent of something wild that made my wolf whine. Tell me, Min-jun, how long have you worked for Lycaon? 3 years, sir. 3 years. He repeated it like he was testing the shape of the words. And in all that time, we've never formally met. That seems unfortunate. My pulse hammered. I'm sure you have more important matters than remembering every employee, sir. Perhaps. His head tilted, mirroring his younger brother's gesture from moments ago. But something tells me you're not just any employee. Before I could respond, a hand landed on Jae-sung's shoulder. Dae-hyun appeared beside him, his expression unreadable, but his presence suffocating in its intensity. Brother, Dae-hyun said quietly, we have guests. Of course. Jae-sung's smile widened, but he didn't take his eyes off me. We'll continue this conversation later, Min-jun. It wasn't a request. They walked away, rejoining Tae-min, who was still watching me with that unsettling focus. I saw them speak, saw Tae-min's expression sharpen, saw all three of them turn to look at me in unison. My hands trembled as I set down the tray. I needed to leave. Now. The service corridor led to the kitchens, and from there, I could slip out through the staff exit. I was 3 steps from freedom when a familiar scent stopped me cold. Orange blossom and poison. I turned slowly, dread pooling in my stomach. Kang Ji-woo stood in the hallway, resplendent in a designer suit that probably cost more than my annual salary, his Omega beauty on full devastating display. Perfect features, perfect posture, perfect predatory smile. Well, Ji-woo purred, blocking my path. If it isn't the little beta who thinks he's special. I kept my expression neutral. Excuse me, I saw them looking at you. He moved closer, and I caught the deliberate way he angled his body, releasing more of his scent. A calculated move meant to overwhelm. The Choi brothers, do you know how many Omegas in this city would kill for even a fraction of their attention? I'm not interested in their attention. Liar! The word was soft, venomous. Everyone wants their attention. Everyone wants to be chosen. But you, he laughed, the sound sharp as breaking glass. You're nothing. A beta playing dress-up in a world you don't belong in. I should have walked away, should have kept my mouth shut and my head down, just like I'd done for 3 years. But something in his tone, the casual cruelty, the assumption that I was somehow beneath him, made my wolf snarl. At least I don't have to throw myself at them like I'm in heat every day of the week, I said quietly. Ji-woo's face went white, then red. You little... Is there a problem here? We both whirled. Tae-min stood at the end of the corridor, hands still in his pockets, but his entire demeanor radiating lethal calm. Ji-woo's expression transformed instantly, all seduction and innocence. Alpha Tae-min, I asked Min-jun. Tae-min's eyes never left my face. Is there a problem? My throat went dry. No, sir, no problem. Good. He jerked his head toward Ji-woo. Then I suggest you return to the ballroom, Ji-woo, before you cause a scene. For a moment I thought Ji-woo might argue, but even he wasn't stupid enough to challenge an Alpha King directly. With one last poisonous glare in my direction, he swept past, leaving behind a cloud of cloying scent. Silence stretched between us. Tae-min took a step forward, then another. His gaze swept over me, assessing, searching for something I desperately hoped he wouldn't find. You stood up to him, he said finally. I shouldn't have. I apologize for a don't. The command was soft but absolute. He's been insufferable for months. Someone needed to knock him down a peg. I swallowed hard, trying to ignore how close Tae-min was now. How his scent wrapped around me like a living thing. You should go, I managed. Your guests can wait. He leaned in, and I felt the ghost of his breath against my temple. There's something about you, Min-jun Park. Something I can't quite... He inhaled slowly. My entire body went rigid. No, please no. The suppressants, they were supposed to be foolproof, military grade, designed to mask an Omega's scent completely. But standing this close to an Alpha King, one whose presence made my wolf want to bare its throat in submission and longing, Interesting, Tae-min murmured, pulling back just enough to meet my eyes. You smell like rain. Rain, not the sterile nothing of a beta. Rain. I, I should go, I stammered, stepping back. It's late, and Run if you want, he said softly, something dangerous and delighted flickering in his expression. But we will finish this conversation, Min-jun. Soon. I didn't run. I fled. Out through the service exit, down 3 flights of stairs, out into the bitter Chicago wind that did nothing to cool the panic burning through my veins. 10 years. 10 years of careful planning, of hiding, of building a life where I was safe from being claimed, from being used, from becoming just another omega in someone's collection. And in one night, 3 pairs of alpha eyes had found me. The Choi brothers knew something was wrong. And worse, far worse, I knew that Tae-min's words weren't a threat. They were a promise. The words echoed in my head as I stumbled down the sidewalk, the night air sharp enough to sting my lungs. My hands shook as I fumbled for my phone, nearly dropping it twice before I managed to pull up my rideshare app. 3 minutes. The car would be here in 3 minutes. I could last 3 minutes. I pressed my back against the cold brick of the building, trying to steady my breathing, trying to think past the panic clawing up my throat. The suppressants were supposed to last 48 hours. I'd taken the dose this morning at 6. It was barely midnight now. 18 hours. They should still be working. But Tae-min had smelled something. Rain, he'd said. Not the nothing scent of a beta, but rain. My wolf stirred restlessly beneath my skin, agitated by the encounter, by his proximity, by the way his voice had wrapped around my name like he was tasting it. Shut up, I whispered to the thing inside me that had wanted nothing more than to tilt my head back and bare my throat. Just shut up. The screech of tires made me jolt. But it wasn't my rideshare. A black SUV rolled to a stop at the curb, windows tinted so dark I couldn't see inside. The back door opened and my stomach dropped straight through the pavement. Dae-hyun stepped out. He didn't say anything at first, just looked at me with those calculating eyes that seemed to dissect every micro-expression on my face. He'd changed from his suit jacket into just the white dress shirt, sleeves rolled up to his forearms, collar loosened. Somehow that made him more intimidating, not less. Get in the car, Min-jun. It wasn't a request. I have a ride coming, I said, hating how my voice shook. I appreciate the offer. But that wasn't an offer. He took a step closer, and I caught his scent smoke in expensive whiskey, underlaid with something darker, richer, alpha, pure, undiluted alpha. My brothers and I would like to speak with you, privately. My heart hammered against my ribs. Sir, I really should. You're trembling, his gaze sharpened. Are you afraid of us, Min-jun? Yes. No. Another lie. He moved closer still, until I was trapped between him and the wall, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off his body. You've been lying since the moment we noticed you tonight. I want to know why. I haven't. 3 years. His voice dropped lower, quieter, but somehow more dangerous for it. 3 years you've worked for Lycaon. 3 years of exemplary service, perfect attendance, glowing performance reviews, and yet, somehow, you've managed to avoid ever being in the same room as me or my brothers for more than 30 seconds. My throat went dry. I'm just an administrative assistant. I'm not important enough to. You personally handle our quarterly reports. You organize our travel schedules. You have clearance to files that most of our senior staff can't access. He tilted his head, studying me like I was a puzzle he was determined to solve. So either you're extraordinarily good at your job, or you're hiding something. Which is it, Min-jun? Both. Neither. I didn't know anymore. Please, I whispered. I just want to go home. Something flickered in his expression. Not quite softness, but a fractional easing of the intensity. Then let us drive you. It's late. It's not safe for you to be out here alone. I'll be fine. Humor me. He stepped back, giving me space but keeping himself between me and the street. 10 minutes of conversation, that's all I'm asking. Then we'll take you home, and you can pretend this night never happened, if that's truly what you want. The way he said that last part made it clear he knew it wasn't what I wanted. Not entirely. God help me, I was considering it. This was insane. This was dangerous. This was everything I'd spent 10 years trying to avoid: alpha attention, alpha interest, alpha anything. But the alternative was standing out here in the cold, waiting for a stranger to pick me up, wondering if the Choi brothers would just follow me anyway. At least in the car, I'd know where they were. 10 minutes, I heard myself say. Then you take me home. Dae-hyun's expression didn't change, but something in his posture relaxed. 10 minutes. He gestured to the open car door. I climbed in, immediately regretting my decision. Jae-sung sat on one side, Tae-min on the other, and the space between them was clearly meant for me. Of course it was. I slid into the middle seat, hyper-aware of how small the space was, how close they were, how their combined scents filled the air until I could barely breathe past them. Dae-hyun climbed in after me, pulling the door shut, and suddenly the world narrowed to just the four of us in this leather-lined cocoon. The driver pulled away from the curb without a word. Silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Jae-sung spoke first, his voice carrying that same dangerous amusement from earlier. You ran. I didn't run. I left. Through the service exit, down 3 flights of stairs without saying goodbye. His smile was sharp. That's called running, Min-jun. I was done with my shift. Your shift ended at 11. It's now 12:30. Tae-min's voice came from my other side, low and rough. Where were you going to go? Home. Where's home? Dae-hyun asked. I hesitated. They probably already knew. They owned the company. They had access to personnel files. But giving them the information felt like surrendering something I couldn't get back. Logan Square, I said finally. That's a 40-minute drive from the tower, Jae-sung observed. You make that commute every day? Yes. That's dedication. He shifted slightly and his knee brushed mine. I jerked away instinctively, pressing closer to Tae-min, who made a soft sound that might have been amusement. Or avoidance. I don't know what you mean. Don't you? Dae-hyun leaned forward slightly, drawing my attention. Tell me, Min-jun, why does a beta need military-grade sense suppressants? The bottom dropped out of my stomach. No, they couldn't. They didn't. I don't. We pulled your medical records, Dae-hyun continued, his tone almost conversational. After the gala, just routine background checks on all staff who had access to tonight's event. Security precaution, you understand. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think past the roaring in my ears. Imagine our surprise, Jae-sung picked up smoothly, when we discovered that our incredibly competent, incredibly invisible administrative assistant has a prescription for suppressants that are typically reserved for omegas in witness protection programs. That's a mistake, I managed. A clerical error. I'm a beta. I have the documentation, forged documentation. Tae-min's hand landed on my thigh. Not aggressive, but firm enough to stop me from pulling away. Good forgeries, expensive ones, but forgeries nonetheless. Oh God, they knew. We're not angry, Dae-hyun said quietly. We're curious. Why would an Omega go to such extraordinary lengths to hide what he is? I'm not Min-jun. Jae-sung's hand caught my chin, turning my face toward him. His touch was gentle, but his eyes were relentless. We can smell it now. Under the suppressants, under the fear. We know what you are. Then you know I don't want this, I said desperately, trying to pull away. Whatever you're thinking, whatever you're planning, I don't want it. I just want to be left alone. Why? Tae-min's grip on my thigh tightened fractionally. What are you running from? Nothing. I'm not running from anything. Another lie? Dae-hyun's voice was soft, almost sad. You're drowning in them, aren't you? So many lies you've probably forgotten what the truth looks like. The truth, I bit out, is that I'm nobody. Nothing. Just another Omega in a city full of them. There's nothing special about me. Nothing interesting. Nothing worth your time. So please, just take me home and forget you ever noticed me. Too late for that, Jae-sung murmured, thumb brushing along my jaw. We've noticed you, Min-jun. And now that we have, we can't seem to stop. 3 years, Tae-min added. You've been right there, close enough to touch, and we never saw you. How did you do it? How did you hide in plain sight? I didn't hide. I just stayed quiet, did my job, didn't draw attention. You stayed invisible, Dae-hyun corrected. Deliberately, carefully. Why? Because 10 years ago, I watched my cousin get marked by an alpha who collected omegas like trophies. Because I saw the light fade from his eyes as his own will was subsumed by the bond. Because I swore I'd never let anyone do that to me. But I couldn't say that. Couldn't explain the fear that had driven every decision I'd made since I presented at 16. I like my life the way it is, I said instead. I like being independent. I like making my own choices. And you think being marked means losing all that? Jae-sung's hand slid from my chin to the back of my neck, fingers tangling in my hair. Not painful, but possessive. Is that what frightens you? I'm not frightened. Liar, all three of them said in unison. The car slowed to a stop. I glanced out the window, recognizing my apartment building, with a rush of relief. 10 minutes. The conversation was over. I reached for the door handle. Tae-min's hand closed over mine, stopping me. One more question. I tensed. You said 10 minutes. Just one more. He leaned in, close enough that his breath ghosted across my ear. Do you feel it? This pull between us? Yes, God, yes. Every cell in my body was screaming it. No, I whispered. Such a pretty liar. His lips brushed the shell of my ear, and I shuddered despite myself. But we'll let you keep that one. For now. He released me. I practically fell out of the car in my haste to escape. Min-jun. Dae-hyun's voice stopped me before I could flee. I looked back reluctantly. Take tomorrow off. Rest. We'll see you Monday morning. It sounded like a kindness. It felt like a threat. I slammed the car door and ran for my building, not looking back even as I felt 3 pairs of eyes tracking my every step. Inside my apartment, I locked the door, threw the deadbolt, and slid down to the floor, shaking so hard my teeth chattered. They knew. The Choi brothers knew what I was, and they weren't going to let this go. I pulled out my phone with trembling hands and scrolled to my cousin's number. He'd been through this. He'd know what to do. The call went straight to voicemail. Right. It was past midnight. He was probably asleep, or with his alpha. Always with his alpha now. I hung up without leaving a message. My suppressants sat on the bathroom counter, mocking me with their uselessness. If the Choi brothers could smell past them, they weren't working anymore. Maybe my body had built up a tolerance. Maybe the stress had overwhelmed their effectiveness. Maybe my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stared at it, dread pooling in my stomach, before finally opening the message. Sleep well, Min-jun. We'll be thinking of you. No signature. None needed. I threw the phone across the room and buried my face in my hands. This was it. The beginning of the end of everything I'd built. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, was the way my wolf purred at the memory of their scents, their touches, their attention. Like it had been waiting for this moment my entire life. I pressed my palms against my eyes, trying to block out the truth of that thought, but it clung to me like smoke. My wolf wouldn't settle, pacing restlessly beneath my skin, whining for something I'd spent a decade denying. The phone buzzed again from where it had landed near the couch. I didn't want to look, didn't want to see another message from them, another reminder that my carefully constructed walls were crumbling. But my traitorous body moved anyway, crawling across the hardwood floor to retrieve it. We're not the enemy, Min-jun. A second message followed immediately. But we will find out what you're running from, and we will protect you from it, whether you want us to or not. My hands shook as I typed back, fingers clumsy with adrenaline. Leave me alone. The response came within seconds. No. Simple. Absolute. Terrifying. I turned the phone off completely and shoved it under a couch cushion, like that would somehow make them disappear. It wouldn't. I knew it wouldn't. The Choi brothers weren't the kind of alphas who gave up once they decided they wanted something, and somehow, impossibly, they decided they wanted me. I needed to think, needed to plan, needed to figure out how to salvage this disaster before a knock at my door made me jump so hard I nearly fell. No, they wouldn't. They couldn't have followed me up. The building had security, required keycard access, cameras in the lobby. Another knock. firmer this time. Min-jun. Tae-min's voice filtered through the door, rough and edged with something that might have been concern. I know you're awake. I can hear your heartbeat from here. Fuck. Alpha hearing. Go away, I called out, hating how weak my voice sounded. Not until you open this door. I'll call the police. And tell them what? That 3 alphas gave you a ride home, and now one of them wants to make sure you're okay? A pause. You're scared. I can smell it through the door. Just let me see that you're safe, and I'll leave. I'm fine, now go. Silence stretched for several long moments. I thought maybe he'd actually listened. Then I heard the distinctive scrape of metal on metal. He was picking my fucking lock. I lunged for the door, yanking it open before he could finish. What the hell do you think you're... The words died in my throat. Tae-min stood in my doorway, lock pick still in hand, looking entirely too satisfied with himself. He'd lost the suit jacket too, just like his brother, shirt sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms corded with muscle. His dark hair was slightly mussed, like he'd been running his hands through it. He looked dangerous and beautiful and completely unrepentant about breaking into my apartment. You opened the door, he observed, so I didn't have to finish. See, I can be reasonable. Reasonable people don't pick locks. Reasonable people open their doors when someone's worried about them. He slipped the pick into his pocket and leaned against the doorframe, making no move to come inside but effectively blocking my ability to close the door. You bolted out of that car like we were going to eat you alive. Weren't you? His eyes darkened. Is that what you think? That we want to hurt you? I think you want to own me. There's not much difference. There's every difference. He pushed off the frame, and I instinctively stepped back. He followed, crossing the threshold into my space. Ownership implies property, objects, things. Is that what you think you'd be to us? That's what omegas are to alphas like you. Alphas like me. He repeated it softly, dangerously. What kind of alpha do you think I am, Min-jun? The kind who picks locks and doesn't take no for an answer. The kind who looks at me like I'm prey and promise all at once. The kind who makes me want things I swore I'd never want. The kind who doesn't hear the word no, I said instead. Oh, I hear it. He took another step closer, and I retreated until my back hit the wall. I just don't believe it. Not when everything else about you is screaming yes. You're wrong. Am I? He braced one hand on the wall beside my head, leaning in until his scent wrapped around me like a physical thing. Your pulse is racing. Your pupils are dilated. You're trembling, but not from fear. Not anymore. Get out of my apartment. Make me. The challenge hung in the air between us, electric and dangerous. I should have been angry, should have shoved him away, screamed at him, called building security. Instead, I heard myself ask, why are you here? Because you looked like you were going to break in that car. Because my brothers and I spent the last hour arguing about whether to give you space or hunt you down. Because I lost the argument but came anyway. His free hand came up, fingers ghosting along my jaw. Because I can't stop thinking about the way you smelled under all those suppressants, like rain in something wild, like home. You don't know me. I know you've been hiding. I know you're terrified of being marked. I know you looked at us tonight like you wanted to run and stay in equal measure. His thumb brushed over my lower lip, and I barely suppressed a shiver. I know you're lying when you say you don't feel this thing between us. There is no thing. Stop. The word was soft but commanding. Stop lying. Stop hiding. Just for a minute, stop pretending and tell me the truth. The truth? I laughed, the sound bitter. The truth is that I've spent 10 years building a life where I'm safe, where I make my own choices, where no alpha can. I cut myself off, but too late. Can what? His expression shifted, something fierce and protective flickering behind his eyes. What did they do to you, Min-jun? Nothing. No one did anything to me. But someone did something to someone you cared about. Not a question, a statement. Someone you watched get hurt, someone whose pain made you swear you'd never let an alpha close enough to do the same to you. I hated how easily he read me, hated the understanding in his voice. It doesn't matter, I whispered. It matters to me. Both hands framed my face now, gentle despite their strength. Whatever happened, whoever hurt them, we're not them. We would never. You say that now. Everyone says that now. But once the bond forms, once the mark is there, you could make me do anything. Want anything. I'd have no choice. Is that what you think a bond is? Slavery? Isn't it? No. The word was fierce, absolute. A true bond, a mate bond. It's not about control. It's about connection, partnership. Yes, it's intense. Yes, it changes you. But it doesn't erase who you are. It doesn't steal your will. You can't promise that. I can promise that we would never abuse a bond, never use it to hurt you or control you. And if you don't believe me, then let us prove it. His forehead rested against mine, his breath warm on my lips. Let us court you, properly. No pressure, no marks, no bonds. Just time. Just us getting to know you and you getting to know us. And if at the end of it you still want nothing to do with us, we'll walk away. You're lying. I'm not. He pulled back just enough to meet my eyes. We want you, Min-jun. All three of us have wanted you since the moment we truly saw you tonight. But we want you willing. We want you to choose us because you want to, not because you're afraid or trapped or compelled. It sounded too good to be true. Too easy. Why me? The question escaped before I could stop it. You could have anyone. Any Omega in the city would fight for the chance to be yours. So why are you here in my apartment asking me for something I've already said I don't want? Because you're not any Omega. His hands slid down to my shoulders, thumbs tracing lazy circles that made it hard to think. You're smart enough to hide from us for 3 years. Brave enough to stand up to Jiwoo even when you thought no one was watching. Strong enough to build a life on your own terms despite everything telling you that you couldn't. That's not nothing. That's extraordinary. My throat tightened. You don't know what you're talking about. Then enlighten me. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you're not remarkable, and I'll believe you. I couldn't. The words wouldn't come. 1 week, Tae-min said softly. Give us 1 week. Let us take you to dinner. Show you who we are when we're not playing the part of Alpha Kings. And if after that week you still want us gone, we'll respect your wishes. You're not going to give up, are you? Not even a little bit. A smile tugged at his lips, self-aware and devastatingly charming. We're annoyingly persistent when we want something. That's not the selling point you think it is. Maybe not, but it's honest. His hand squeezed my shoulders gently before dropping away, giving me space. Think about it. You don't have to answer now, but Min-jun? He headed for the door, pausing at the threshold. We're not the monsters you're afraid we are, and deep down, I think you know that. He left, pulling the door closed behind him with a soft click. I stood frozen against the wall, heart hammering, mind reeling. 1 week. It seemed impossible, dangerous, completely insane. But God help me. Part of me wanted to say yes. I slid down the wall to the floor, pulling my knees to my chest. My phone buzzed from under the couch cushion where I'd shoved it. Despite every ounce of common sense screaming at me not to, I retrieved it. 3 new messages. Tae-min told us he visited. We're sorry if he scared you. Dae-hyun. Though knowing my brother, he probably made it worse. Jae-sung 1 week, Min-jun. That's all we're asking. Give us a chance to prove you wrong about us. Dae-hyun. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, warring with themselves. This was a mistake. This was everything I'd avoided for a decade. This was 1 week. That's it. No marks, no bonds, no expectations beyond that. I hit send before I could talk myself out of it. The response came immediately from all 3 numbers, almost like they'd been waiting, holding their breath. Thank you. Dae-hyun. You won't regret this. Jae-sung sleep well, Omega. Dream of us. Tae-min. I threw the phone across the room again, but this time there was no dread in the gesture. Just terror and anticipation warring for dominance in my chest. I just agreed to let the 3 most dangerous alphas in Chicago court me. Either this was the bravest thing I'd ever done, or the stupidest. Probably both. My wolf hummed contentedly for the first time in years, and I hated that it felt like coming home. I pushed myself off the floor, legs unsteady, and headed for the bathroom. Maybe a shower would wash away the lingering scent of them, the ghost of Tae-min's touch on my skin, the dangerous warmth spreading through my chest. The suppressants stared at me from the counter. Useless now. Compromised. I picked up the bottle, weighing it in my palm. 10 years of freedom contained in amber plastic. 10 years of choices that were mine and mine alone. One night with the Choi brothers, and it was all unraveling. I twisted the cap off and dumped 2 pills into my palm out of habit, then stopped. What was the point? They already knew. They'd smelled through the chemical barrier like it was tissue paper. Taking more wouldn't hide me now, but not taking them felt like surrender. My phone buzzed again from where it had landed near the shower. I closed my eyes. You've got to be kidding me. Another buzz, then another. With a growl of frustration, I snatched it up. We're not going to text you all night. Dae-hyun. That would be excessive. Jae-sung, probably. Tae-min. Despite everything, despite the fear and the anger, and the bone-deep certainty that I was making a catastrophic mistake, I felt my lips twitch. Then why are you texting me right now? Just wanted you to know, we'll pick you up at 7. Wear something comfortable. Dae-hyun, I blinked at the screen. Pick me up? When? Tonight. Tae-min. It's already tonight. It's past 1 in the morning. Me exactly. Which means we're picking you up at 7 tonight. Technically today. Semantics. Jae-sung, I said 1 week, not 1 day. Me and we're starting that week now. Unless you'd prefer we wait, we could come back in a few hours instead. Dae-hyun. That's not what I meant. Me. So 7 works for you? Perfect. Tae-min. I didn't say that. Me? You didn't say no. Jae-sung. I stared at the phone, torn between frustration and something dangerously close to amusement. Fine. 7. But I'm choosing the restaurant. Me deal. Text us the address. Sleep well, Min-jun. Dae-hyun. I set the phone down and caught my reflection in the bathroom mirror. My hair was a mess, my eyes too bright, my cheeks flushed. I looked like someone who'd just been thoroughly undone by a conversation and a few loaded touches. I looked like an omega on the edge of something I couldn't take back. This is insane, I told my reflection. My reflection didn't disagree, but I didn't take the suppressants either. I managed maybe 2 hours of fitful sleep before my body gave up on the pretense. By the time pale morning light filtered through my apartment windows, I was already dressed and pacing the living room like a caged animal. 7 o'clock felt simultaneously too soon and impossibly far away. I tried to distract myself with mundane tasks, cleaning the kitchen, sorting through mail, reorganizing my bookshelf for the 3rd time. Nothing worked. My mind kept circling back to the same questions. What was I doing? Why had I agreed to this? What did I even wear to dinner with 3 alpha kings who'd somehow decided I was worth pursuing? My closet offered no answers, just a sea of neutral colors and professional attire designed to help me blend into the background. Nothing suitable for whatever tonight was supposed to be. I was still staring at my limited options when my phone rang. Unknown number. Again. I should have let it go to voicemail. Should have ignored it entirely. Instead, I answered, "Hello, Min-jun Park." The voice was female, crisp and professional. "Yes? This is Sarah Chen from Lycaon Corporation's Executive Services. I'm calling to confirm your appointment at Lumiere Boutique at 10 o'clock this morning." I pulled the phone away from my ear to stare at it, then brought it back. "I don't have an appointment at Lumiere Boutique. According to my records, you do, courtesy of the Choi brothers. They've arranged for a personal styling session." A pause. "Is there a problem?" "Yes, several. Starting with the fact that Lumiere was one of the most exclusive boutiques in Chicago, the kind of place where a single shirt cost more than my monthly rent." "I didn't ask for this," I said carefully. "Nevertheless, the appointment has been made. A car will pick you up at 9:30. Her tone suggested this wasn't up for discussion. "Will there be anything else?" "I know, thank you." She hung up. I stared at my phone, fingers already moving to text the Choi brothers. "What did you do?" Dae-hyun replied first. "Good morning to you too. Sleep well? Don't change the subject. Lumiere Boutique? You said you'd choose the restaurant. We get to choose what you wear to it. Fair is fair. Jae-sung, I have clothes." "Me? Yes. An entire closet full of beige and gray designed to make you invisible. We'd like you visible. Just for tonight." Dae-hyun, this is too much. Me. This is us wanting to see you, comfortable and confident. Let us do this, Min-jun. Please. Tae-min. The please got me. I should have said no. Should have insisted on wearing my own clothes, maintaining that boundary, proving I didn't need their money or their gifts. But a traitorous part of me, the part that had been invisible for so long, wanted to know what it felt like to be seen. Really seen. Fine, but nothing too expensive. Me to find too expensive. Jae-sung nothing with more than 3 zeros. Me. That might be difficult. Tae-min. Then I'm wearing my own clothes. Me? Okay, we'll tell them to keep it reasonable. Dae-hyun. I didn't believe them for a second. But at 9:30, when a sleek black town car pulled up outside my building, I got in anyway. Lumiere Boutique occupied the ground floor of a building that probably cost more than my entire neighborhood. Glass doors opened into a space that felt more like an art gallery than a clothing store. All clean line, strategic lighting, and garments displayed like precious artifacts. A woman in an impeccably tailored suit approached the moment I stepped inside. "Min-jun Park? That's me." Her smile was warm and genuine. "I'm Grace. The Choi brothers asked me to take care of you today. Come, we have a private fitting room prepared." She led me through the main showroom to a secluded area in the back. The fitting room was larger than my bedroom, complete with a 3-way mirror, plush seating, and a rack already filled with clothing. "The brothers provided some guidelines," Grace explained, gesturing to the selections. "But ultimately, this is about what makes you feel good, what makes you feel like yourself." I ran my fingers over the fabric of the first piece, a deep charcoal button-down that felt like silk, but somehow more substantial. The price tag was tucked discreetly inside. 4 figures. I shot Grace a look. She had the grace to look slightly apologetic. They were very insistent about quality. They were very insistent about ignoring my budget. In my experience, when the Choi brothers set their mind to something, resistance is— She paused, searching for the word. Futile. That's reassuring. Try this one. She pulled a different shirt from the rack. This one, a midnight blue that reminded me uncomfortably of Tae-min's eyes. It'll look incredible with your skin tone. 2 hours later, I stood in front of the 3-way mirror, wearing an outfit that made me look like someone I barely recognized. The midnight blue shirt fit like it had been designed specifically for my body, the fabric draping in ways that suggested rather than clung. Black slacks that actually fit my waist without needing a belt. Subtle details, the cut of the collar, the way the sleeves hit exactly at my wrists that spoke of craftsmanship I'd never experienced. I looked good, not invisible, not forgettable. Good. Perfect, Grace declared. The brothers have excellent taste. They haven't even seen me in it yet. Trust me, they will not be disappointed. She handed me a garment bag. Everything's ready for tonight. And Min-jun? She met my eyes in the mirror. For what it's worth, I've worked with a lot of alphas over the years. The way they talked about you, she smiled. That wasn't duty or obligation. That was genuine care. I didn't know what to say to that. The car dropped me back at my apartment at 1 o'clock. 6 hours until they picked me up. 6 hours to convince myself this wasn't a terrible idea. I hung the garment bag in my closet and tried to ignore how out of place it looked among my collection of beige and gray. My phone buzzed. Grace said you looked incredible. Dae-hyun. She's getting a raise. Jae-sung. Can't wait to see you tonight. Tae-min heat crept up my neck. You're paying her to say that. Me, we're paying her for her services. Her opinions are her own. Dae-hyun. Besides, we'll be able to judge for ourselves in 6 hours. Jae-sung, 5 hours and 57 minutes. Not that anyone's counting. Tae-min. Against my better judgment, I smiled. This was dangerous. This fluttering in my chest, this anticipation, this gradual lowering of walls I'd spent a decade reinforcing. This was exactly how it started. But maybe it didn't have to end the way I feared. At 6:30, I stood in my bathroom, staring at my reflection. The midnight blue shirt looked even better than it had at the boutique. The black slacks fit perfectly. I'd even attempted to do something with my hair beyond functional. I looked like someone worth taking to dinner. The thought terrified me. My phone lit up. "We're downstairs. Take your time." Dae-hyun. My heart rate kicked up several notches. This was it. The moment I could still back out, text them some excuse, lock my door and return to my safe, invisible life. My hand hovered over the phone. My wolf stirred. Pressing against my consciousness was something that felt like hope. I grabbed my wallet and keys before I could talk myself out of it. The elevator ride down felt both endless and far too short. My reflection in the polished doors showed an omega on the edge of something irrevocable. The lobby doors opened, and there they were. All three of them, leaning against the same black SUV from the previous night, looking unfairly devastating in casual clothes that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe pre-boutique. Dae-hyun pushed off the vehicle first, his eyes tracking over me in a way that made my skin feel too tight. Min-jun, just my name, but the way he said it, rough and reverent and hungry all at once, made me forget how to breathe. Jae-sung's low whistle broke the moment. "Grace undersold it. You look edible," Tae-min finished, his gaze dark and direct. "You look absolutely edible." "That's not the compliment you think it is," I managed, but my voice came out shakier than I intended. "Isn't it?" Tae-min smiled, all teeth and promise. "Because from where I'm standing, it's the best compliment I know how to give." Dae-hyun shot his youngest brother a warning look before turning back to me. "You look incredible, truly. The clothes help." "The clothes are just window dressing." Jae-sung opened the car door, gesturing me inside. "You're what makes them worth looking at." I climbed in before I could do something stupid like believe him. This was just dinner, just one evening, just the first step in a week that would prove to both of us that this couldn't work. So why did it already feel like I was falling? The question echoed in my head as the SUV pulled away from the curb, the three of them arranging themselves around me with the same deliberate positioning as before. Jae-sung to my left, Tae-min to my right, Dae-hyun across from me this time, close enough that our knees almost touched. "Where are we going?" I asked, needing to break the silence that felt too heavy, too charged. "You said you were choosing the restaurant," Dae-hyun reminded me, something that might have been amusement flickering in his dark eyes. "I didn't actually." "You also didn't text us an address," Jae-sung interrupted smoothly. "So we chose for you. Hope you don't mind." "Of course I mind. That was the deal." The deal was 1 week on our terms. Tae-min's hand landed on my thigh, casual but possessive. "We're defining the terms as we go." I looked down at his hand, then back up at his face. "That's not how deals work, isn't it?" His thumb traced a slow circle against the fabric of my slacks, and I hated how that simple touch made my pulse jump. "You're here, aren't you? Wearing clothes we bought, sitting in our car, about to have dinner with us. Seems like our terms are working fine. I should have stayed home, but you didn't." Dae-hyun leaned forward slightly, drawing my attention. "Why is that, Min-jun? If you truly wanted nothing to do with us, you could have ignored our texts, refused the styling appointment, locked your door, and pretended we didn't exist. But you're here. I agreed to 1 week. I'm keeping my word. Is that all this is?" Jae-sung's voice came soft near my ear, close enough that I could feel his breath against my skin. "Obligation? Yes. No. I didn't know anymore." "Where are you taking me?" I asked instead of answering. "Somewhere private," Dae-hyun said, "where we can talk without an audience." Warning bells clanged in my head. "Private how?" "Relax." Tae-min squeezed my thigh gently. "We're not kidnapping you, just taking you somewhere. We won't have half the city watching our every move. The Choi brothers can't go anywhere without being watched. That's the price of being who you are." "Usually, yes." Dae-hyun's expression softened slightly. "But we own several properties throughout the city. One of them includes a penthouse with a private chef. Tonight it's just us. No cameras, no staff beyond the chef who will leave after serving. No pressure. That sounds exactly like pressure. It's privacy, Jae-sung corrected. There's a difference. We want to know you, Min-jun, the real you, not the version you perform for the cameras in the court. I don't perform for anyone. Don't you? Tae-min tilted his head, studying me. You've been performing for 3 years, playing the invisible beta, staying small and quiet and unnoticed. That's the most elaborate performance of all. The words hit too close to home. Maybe that's just who I am, I said quietly. No. Dae-hyun's response was immediate, certain. That's who you forced yourself to become. But tonight, just for a few hours, we'd like to meet the person underneath the mask. The car slowed, then stopped. I glanced out the window and recognized the building immediately, Choi Tower, their corporate headquarters, but also home to several residential floors at the top. Of course, they were taking me to their territory. Come on, Tae-min opened the door and stepped out, offering me his hand. I stared at it for a long moment, this simple gesture that felt monumental. Taking his hand meant accepting this, accepting them, accepting that maybe I wanted this, despite every logical reason not to. I took his hand. His fingers closed around mine, warm and strong, and he pulled me gently from the car. Jae-sung appeared at my other side, his hand finding the small of my back, guiding me toward the private entrance. Dae-hyun led the way, nodding to the security guard who opened the door without question. The elevator required a key card to access the residential floors. Dae-hyun swiped his, then pressed the button for the penthouse level. The doors closed, sealing us in. Nervous? Jae-sung asked, his hand still resting against my back. Should I be? No. Dae-hyun turned to face me fully, his expression serious. We meant what we said, Min-jun. No pressure, no expectations. If at any point you want to leave, just say the word and we'll take you home immediately. No questions, no judgment. You're asking me to trust you. Yes. I don't trust easily. We know. Tae-min moved closer, boxing me in between him and his brothers. But we're patient, and we're willing to earn it. The elevator chimed, doors opening onto a private foyer. The penthouse beyond was not what I expected. Instead of the cold, modern aesthetic I associated with corporate power, the space felt warm. Lived in. Comfortable leather furniture, bookshelves crammed with actual books, artwork that looked personal rather than decorative. This is where we come when we need to escape being the Choi brothers, Jae-sung explained, reading my expression. Our actual home, not the showpiece we use for entertaining. They were showing me something private, something real. The dining room's this way. Dae-hyun gestured toward an open archway. The table was already set for 4, candles casting soft light across dark wood. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Chicago glittered like scattered stars. Sit anywhere, Tae-min said, pulling out a chair. I chose the seat with my back to the window, instinctively wanting the wall behind me. Tae-min took the seat to my left, Jae-sung to my right. Dae-hyun sat across from me, completing the circle. Wine? Jae-sung reached for the bottle already open on the table. I probably shouldn't. Why not? Because I need to stay sharp, stay in control, stay safe. I don't drink much, I said instead. 1 glass won't hurt. He poured anyway, sliding the glass toward me. Besides, it might help you relax. I picked up the glass, more for something to do with my hands than any real desire to drink. The wine was red and rich. Probably cost more than I wanted to know. So, Dae-hyun folded his hands on the table, his gaze steady on mine. Tell us about yourself, Min-jun, the real story, not the sanitized version in your employment file. What do you want to know? Everything, Tae-min said simply. Where you're from, what made you come to Chicago, why you've spent 10 years hiding what you are. My fingers tightened around the wine glass. That's a lot of personal information to share over dinner. We have all night, Jae-sung reminded me, and we're not letting you leave until you give us something real. I thought you said no pressure. This isn't pressure, it's interest. Dae-hyun leaned back in his chair, but his eyes never left mine. 3 years, Min-jun. We've seen you nearly every day for 3 years, and we know almost nothing about you beyond your work performance. Humor us. Give us something. I took a sip of wine, buying time to think. What could I tell them that was true but not too true? Real but not too revealing? I grew up in Seattle, I said finally. Presented as an Omega at 16. Came to Chicago when I was 18 and haven't been back since. Why Chicago? Tae-min asked. It's far from Seattle. That's not an answer. It's the only one I'm giving. Jae-sung made a thoughtful sound. What about family, parents, siblings? My parents are dead. No siblings. The lie came easily after years of practice. I'm sorry. Dae-hyun's expression softened. That must have been difficult. It was a long time ago. Grief doesn't work on a timeline, he said quietly. Loss is loss, regardless of when it happened. Something in his tone made me look at him more carefully. You sound like you're speaking from experience. Our parents died when we were young, Jae-sung said. Car accident. We were raised by our grandmother until we came of age. I'm sorry. The words felt inadequate, but they were genuine. Like you said, it was a long time ago, but the way Tae-min's jaw tightened said it still hurt. A door opened, and a man in chef's whites entered carrying several covered dishes. He set them on the table with practiced efficiency, then disappeared without a word. He won't be back, Dae-hyun said, noting my glance toward the door. He's prepared everything. Now it's just us. Just us. The words should have been comforting. Instead, they made me hyper-aware of how alone we were, how far from help if this went wrong. Eat, Jae-sung urged, uncovering one of the dishes to reveal what looked like Korean barbecue. You barely touched anything at the gala. I was working. You're always working. Tae-min placed a piece of perfectly grilled meat on my plate. When's the last time you just existed, without performing or hiding or pretending? I don't. Before you came to Chicago, Dae-hyun interrupted. Were you happy? The question caught me off guard. What? In Seattle. Before you came here, before you started hiding, were you happy? I stared at my plate, memories I'd buried for years threatening to surface. My cousin's face, the light in his eyes dimming day by day after his bonding, the way he stopped recognizing himself in the mirror. No, I whispered. I wasn't happy. What changed? Tae-min's hand found mine under the table, his touch gentle. What happened that made you run? I didn't run. Min-jun. Jae-sung's voice was soft but insistent. Whatever it is, whatever you're afraid of, we need to know. We can't protect you from shadows. I don't need your protection. Maybe not, but you're terrified of something. We've seen it in your eyes since the moment we noticed you. Dae-hyun leaned forward. Someone hurt you or someone you cared about, and now you're convinced that bonding means losing yourself, means becoming something less than what you are. It does mean that. No. Tae-min's grip tightened. It doesn't. Not with the right alphas. And you think you're the right alphas? I pulled my hand free, anger and fear and something dangerously close to hope warring in my chest. You don't even know me. Then let us. Jae-sung caught my chin, turning my face toward him. Stop pushing us away and let us in. Let us prove that we're not whoever hurt you before. My cousin. The words escaped before I could stop them. It was my cousin. He bonded with an alpha when he was 19. Within 6 months, he was gone. Still breathing, still walking around, but everything that made him him just disappeared. He became an extension of his alpha's will. No thoughts of his own, no desires, no dreams. Just this empty thing that existed only to serve. The admission hung in the air between us. That's not a bond, Dae-hyun said finally, his voice hard. That's abuse. That's an alpha using a bond to break someone rather than build with them. How do I know you're different? I met his eyes, letting him see the fear I'd kept hidden for so long. How do I know that once the bond forms, once you mark me, you won't do the same thing? You say you won't, but so did he. Everyone always says they won't, until they do. Because we're giving you choice, Tae-min said. Right now, in this moment, you have all the power. You can walk away, you can tell us no. You can set boundaries and limits, and we will respect every single one. That's not how abusive alphas operate. But after the bond, you'll still have choice. Jae-sung's thumb brushed across my cheekbone. A true mate bond doesn't erase your will. It amplifies connection. Yes, you'll feel what we feel. Yes, the pull will be intense. But your thoughts remain your own. Your desires remain your own. You remain you. You can't promise that? We can. Dae-hyun's expression was fierce, certain. And we will. Every day. For as long as it takes for you to believe it. I wanted to believe them. God, I wanted it so badly it physically hurt. But want and trust were two different things. I need air, I said abruptly, pushing back from the table. None of them tried to stop me as I walked to the windows, pressing my palms against the cool glass. The city sprawled below, millions of lives playing out in those glittering lights. So many people who'd never know the fear of losing themselves to someone else's will. I felt him before I heard him. Dae-hyun's reflection appeared in the glass beside mine. My grandmother used to tell us a story, he said quietly, about the first alphas and omegas. She said the gods created them in pairs, two halves of one soul, and bound them together with threads of starlight. But the threads were never meant to cage. They were meant to connect, to remind each half that they were never alone, that they were seen and known and chosen. That's a nice story. It's more than a story. He turned me to face him, hands gentle on my shoulders. Min-jun, we're not asking you to surrender yourself. We're asking you to let us stand beside you, not above you, not controlling you, beside you, as equals. Alphas and omegas are never equals. Then let us be the first. His forehead rested against mine, his breath warm on my lips. Let us show you what it means to be cherished rather than owned. My hands came up to his chest, intending to push him away. Instead, they fisted in his shirt, holding him close. I'm terrified, I whispered. I know. If I let you in and you break me, we won't. You can't know that. Yes, he breathed against my mouth. We can. And then he kissed me. And then he kissed me. Not rough or demanding, but achingly gentle. Like I was something precious that might shatter if handled too carelessly. His lips moved against mine with a reverence that made my chest tight, one hand cradling the back of my head while the other remained steady on my waist. I'd been kissed before. Quick, forgettable encounters that meant nothing. This wasn't that. This was deliberate, intentional. A promise written in the language of touch. A sound escaped my throat, something between a whimper and a sigh, and Dae-hyun's grip tightened fractionally, pulling me closer. His scent wrapped around me, smoke and whiskey, and something uniquely him that made my wolf keen with recognition. Mate, it whispered. Ours. Not yet, I thought desperately. Not yet. But my body wasn't listening to logic. My hands unclenched from his shirt only to slide up his chest, over his shoulders, fingers tangling in the hair at the nape of his neck. He made a low sound of approval, deepening the kiss until I was drowning in sensation. Beautiful, he murmured against my lips. You're so beautiful when you stop fighting. I'm not. The protest died as his mouth found the sensitive spot just below my ear, teeth grazing skin that suddenly felt too tight. You are. His voice was rough silk, words punctuated with kisses along my jaw. You've been fighting since the moment you walked into that ballroom. Fighting your nature. Fighting us. Fighting yourself. Someone has to. Why? He pulled back just enough to meet my eyes, his pupils blown wide with want. What are you so afraid will happen if you just let go? That I'll want this too much. That I'll forget why I ran in the first place. That I'll become my cousin empty and hollow, and not myself anymore. But I couldn't say any of that. Couldn't put words to the terror that lived beneath my skin. Let us show you, Dae-hyun said softly, reading something in my expression. Let us show you what it means to be wanted without being possessed. Before I could respond, another presence appeared at my back. Jae-sung's hands settled on my hips, his chest warm against my spine. You don't have to decide everything tonight, he said, lips brushing the shell of my ear. You don't have to commit or surrender or promise anything you're not ready to give. Just be here with us. Just feel. That's what scares me, I admitted. Feeling too much. There's no such thing as too much. Tae-min's voice came from somewhere to my left. I turned my head to find him watching us with dark, hungry eyes. Not when it's real. Dae-hyun's thumb traced my lower lip. Do you want us to stop? Did I? Every rational part of my brain screamed yes, screamed that this was dangerous, that I was in too deep, that I needed to run before I lost myself completely. But the word that left my lips was, no. Thank God, Jae-sung breathed, and then his mouth was on my neck, finding the scent gland there and licking a stripe across it that made my knees buckle. Dae-hyun caught me, holding me steady between them as Jae-sung's teeth scraped over that sensitive spot without breaking skin. Not marking, just tasting, just claiming in the most temporary way possible. We're not going to bond you tonight, Dae-hyun said, his voice strained with the effort of control. We're not going to mark you or mate you or take anything you're not ready to give. But Min-jun, his forehead pressed to mine again, we are going to worship you. We're going to show you what it feels like to be cherished. Is that okay? I nodded, not trusting my voice. Words Omega. Tae-min appeared on my other side, his hand joining Jae-sung's on my hip. We need to hear you say it. Yes. The word came out breathless, wrecked. Yes, that's okay. Something shifted in the air between us, the restraint they'd been holding on to fraying at the edges. Dae-hyun kissed me again, deeper this time, his tongue sliding against mine in a rhythm that promised other intimacies. Jae-sung's hand slid under my shirt, palms hot against my ribs, thumbs brushing just beneath my chest in a touch that was exploratory rather than presumptuous. And Tae-min's fingers threaded through my hair, tugging gently until I broke away from Dae-hyun's kiss with a gasp. My turn, he said, and then his mouth was on mine, demanding where Dae-hyun had been coaxing. His kiss tasted like challenge and promise, teeth catching my lower lip just hard enough to sting before soothing it with his tongue. Too many sensations, too many hands and mouths and scents overwhelming my senses until I couldn't tell where one brother ended and another began. Bedroom, Dae-hyun said roughly. Not here, not against the window where anyone could see. They guided me through the penthouse, a tangle of bodies and wandering hands, until we reached a room dominated by a bed large enough to fit all four of us comfortably. Of course they had a bed that size. Tae-min nudged me toward it, and I sat on the edge, looking up at the three of them standing over me. They'd shed their jackets somewhere along the way, shirt sleeves rolled up, hair mussed from my fingers, eyes dark with want. They looked like sin and salvation all at once. Last chance, Jae-sung said, kneeling in front of me so we were eye level. If you want to stop, we stop. No questions, no judgment, no consequences. Just say the word. I should stop, should end this before it went any further. Instead, I reached for him, pulling him into a kiss that answered more thoroughly than words ever could. He groaned against my mouth, hands framing my face as he kissed me back with a desperation that matched my own. When we broke apart, we were both breathing hard. That's a yes, Tae-min observed, moving to kneel beside his brother. His hands found the hem of my shirt. Can I? I nodded. Words, Min-jun? Yes, take it off. He pulled the expensive fabric over my head slowly, reverently, like unwrapping a gift. Cool air hit my skin, and I fought the urge to cover myself. Perfect, Dae-hyun said from where he'd positioned himself on the bed behind me. His hands settled on my shoulders, thumbs rubbing circles against tense muscles. You're perfect. I'm not, you are. Jae-sung's hands joined his brother's exploration, sliding down my sides, mapping the dips and curves of my torso with careful attention. Every inch of you is perfect. Tae-min's mouth found the hollow of my throat, kissing and sucking until I knew there would be a mark. Not a claiming bite, but evidence of his presence that would fade in days rather than last forever. Please, I heard myself say, not even sure what I was asking for. We've got you, Dae-hyun promised, his hands sliding down my arms. We're going to take care of you. They moved with practiced coordination, like they'd done this before, shared an omega between them. The thought should have made me jealous. Instead, it made me feel safe. They knew what they were doing. They wouldn't hurt me accidentally. Jae-sung's mouth traced a path down my chest while Tae-min worked on the button of my slacks. Dae-hyun's hands never stopped their gentle massage, keeping me grounded even as pleasure built beneath my skin. You're shaking, Tae-min observed, pausing. Good shaking or bad shaking? I don't know. Honest, raw. Both. We can slow down. No. My hand covered his, holding it in place. Don't slow down. Don't stop. I need... The words tangled on my tongue. Tell us what you need, Dae-hyun urged. We'll give you anything. I need to stop thinking. The admission felt like surrender. I need to stop being afraid. Then let us give you that. Jae-sung looked up at me from where his mouth had been doing devastating things to my chest. Let us take all that fear and worry and just make you feel good. Can you do that? Can you trust us that much? Could I? I looked at each of them in turn. Jae-sung with his clever mouth and patient eyes. Tae-min with his intensity and careful handling. Dae-hyun with his steady presence and gentle strength. They weren't my cousin's alpha. They weren't the monster I'd been running from. They were just three men who wanted me, who saw me, who were asking for permission rather than taking. Yes, I whispered. I trust you. The words were barely out of my mouth before they were moving again. Tae-min finished removing my slacks, leaving me in just my underwear. Jae-sung's mouth moved lower, kissing across my stomach with maddening slowness. Dae-hyun's hand slid down my chest from behind, fingertips tracing patterns that made me arch. So responsive, he murmured against my ear. So perfect for us. Not perfect, I managed. Just, The protest dissolved into a moan as Jae-sung's teeth grazed my hip bone. Just what? Tae-min's hand curved around my thigh, thumb stroking the sensitive skin there. Just ours? The possessive word should have triggered my flight response. Instead, it made something hot and needy coil in my gut. Not yet, I gasped out, clinging to that last thread of self-preservation. Not yours yet. But you want to be. Not a question. Dae-hyun's voice held absolute certainty. Don't you, Min-jun? Deep down, beneath all that fear, you want to be ours. Yes. The admission was torn from me. God help me, yes. No gods needed. Jae-sung kissed his way back up my body until his mouth found mine again. Just us. Just this. Time became elastic, measured only in sensation. Hands and mouths and whispered praise that rewrote every negative thought I'd ever had about myself. They touched me like I was precious. Like I mattered. Like I was something more than just another Omega. They touched me like I was theirs. And terrifyingly, wonderfully, I wanted to be. I can smell it, Tae-min said roughly, his face buried against my neck. Your scent. It's changing. Getting sweeter. The suppressants. My voice was wrecked, barely recognizable. They're failing. Good. Dae-hyun's hand slid into my hair, tugging gently until I looked at him. We want to smell you. Want to know what you really smell like without chemicals between us. It's dangerous. Maybe. Jae-sung's thumb brushed across my lips. Or maybe it's just honest. Honesty is dangerous. Only when you're with the wrong people. Tae-min caught my hand, pressing it flat against his chest, where I could feel his heart racing. We're not the wrong people, Min-jun. We're not going to use your nature against you. We're not going to trap you or cage you or break you. We're just going to love you, if you'll let us. Love. The word hung between us, enormous and impossible. You don't know me well enough to love me. Don't we? Dae-hyun turned my face toward him. We've watched you for 3 years. Seen how you handle pressure with grace. How you care for the junior staff. How you stay late to finish projects no one else thinks matter. How you bring coffee to the security guards on overnight shifts. How you smile at the cleaning crew like they're just as important as the executives. We've seen you, Min-jun, the real you, and we've been falling for 3 years without even realizing it. That's not, you can't, or we can. Jae-sung kissed the corner of my mouth. And we do. And someday, when you're ready, you'll believe it. I wanted to argue, wanted to protest that they were confusing lust with love, attraction with genuine feeling. But the way they held me careful and reverent, and like I was something infinitely valuable, made the protests die unspoken. I don't know how to do this, I admitted quietly. I don't know how to be what you want. You already are. Tae-min's hand cupped my face. You don't have to be anything other than yourself. That's all we want. That's all we've ever wanted. What if myself isn't enough? Impossible. Dae-hyun pressed a kiss to my temple. You're more than enough. You're everything. They held me between them as the adrenaline faded, as reality crept back in around the edges. I was half naked in their bed, my defenses in tatters. My carefully constructed walls reduced to rubble. I should have been terrified. Instead, I felt safe. Stay tonight, Jae-sung said softly. Not for anything more. Just stay. Let us hold you. Let us show you that wanting us doesn't mean losing yourself. I should go home. You should, Dae-hyun agreed. But will you? I looked at each of them, these three alphas who'd somehow slipped past every defense I'd built, and realized I didn't want to leave. Didn't want to go back to my empty apartment and my lonely bed and pretend this hadn't changed everything. I'll stay, I whispered. The relief on their faces was palpable. They rearranged themselves around me, Dae-hyun at my back, Jae-sung pressed against my front. Tae-min sprawled across the foot of the bed with one hand on my ankle like he needed to maintain contact. Sleep, Dae-hyun murmured against my hair. We've got you. And for the first time in 10 years, surrounded by the three people I should have been running from, I felt like maybe everything would be okay. And for the first time in 10 years, surrounded by the three people I should have been running from, I felt like maybe everything would be okay. The thought had barely formed when my phone buzzed from somewhere in the discarded pile of clothes on the floor. Once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. Ignore it, Tae-min mumbled, his grip on my ankle tightening slightly. Whatever it is can wait. But the buzzing continued, insistent, urgent. Something cold settled in my stomach. I should check, I said quietly, already pulling away from the warmth of their bodies. No one calls me like that unless what? Dae-hyun's hand caught my wrist, not restraining, just concern. Min-jun, what's wrong? I don't know, maybe nothing. But my hands shook as I retrieved the phone from my slacks pocket. 15 missed calls. All from the same number. My cousin. The cousin I hadn't spoken to in 3 years because seeing what he'd become hurt too much. The cousin who'd stopped returning my messages, stopped existing as anything more than an extension of his alpha's will. Why was he calling me now? I unlocked the phone with trembling fingers, about to call back when a text came through. Min-jun, please. I need help. He's getting worse. I don't know what to do. Ice flooded my veins. Another text followed immediately. I know I haven't been myself. I know I pushed you away. But you're the only one who ever saw what was happening. Please, I'm scared. Min-jun? Jae-sung sat up, his expression shifting from sated contentment to alert concern. What is it? I couldn't speak, couldn't process the words on the screen with the implications they carried. Dae-hyun took the phone gently from my nerveless fingers, reading the messages. His expression went carefully blank. Who is this? His voice was controlled, but I heard the edge beneath it. My cousin. Hey, Wan. The words felt like glass in my throat. The one I told you about. The one whose bond broke him, Tae-min finished, moving to sit beside me. What does he mean his alpha is getting worse? I don't know. My hands fisted in the sheets. He stopped responding to me years ago, stopped being Hey Wan. I thought he was gone. That whatever made him him was just erased. But he's reaching out now. Jae-sung took the phone from Dae-hyun, scrolling through the messages. That means some part of him is still in there, still fighting. Another text came through. He hurt me tonight, really hurt me. Not just controlling anymore. I think he's going to kill me if I don't get out. The words blurred as tears I'd been holding back for years finally spilled over. I have to go. I was already moving, searching for my clothes, my hands shaking so badly I could barely grip the fabric. I have to help him. He wouldn't ask unless... We're coming with you. Dae-hyun's tone left no room for argument. No, this isn't your... The hell it isn't. Tae-min was already pulling on his shirt. You think we're letting you walk into a potentially violent situation alone? You don't understand. His alpha, he's powerful, connected. If he finds out I'm involved, then he'll have to go through us first. Jae-sung's expression was harder than I'd ever seen it, And we're significantly more powerful and significantly more connected than whatever piece of shit is hurting your cousin. I wanted to argue, wanted to protect them from this mess the same way I'd been protecting myself for years, but Haewon's words kept echoing in my head. I'm scared. Okay, I whispered. Okay. We dressed in tense silence, the warmth and intimacy of moments ago replaced by cold purpose. Dae-hyun made several phone calls in rapid succession to their head of security, to someone he called their cleaner, to what sounded like a lawyer. They were mobilizing an entire operation while I stood there feeling helpless and useless. My phone rang. Hey, Juan. I answered immediately. Where are you? Are you safe? His voice cracked, and I heard him stifle a sob. I'm in the bathroom. He's passed out drunk in the bedroom. Min-jun, I don't have much time. He always wakes up. He always knows when I try to leave. Give me your address. We're coming to get you. We? I'm not alone. I have help. Just tell me where you are. He rattled off an address in Lincoln Park. Expensive neighborhood. The kind where neighbors minded their own business and privacy was paramount. The kind of place where someone could scream and no one would come. Lock the bathroom door, I instructed, my voice steadier than I felt. Don't open it for anyone except me. We'll be there in 15 minutes. Min-jun? His voice was so small, so broken. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I stopped talking to you. I'm sorry I said those things. Don't. The word came out fierce. Don't apologize. None of this is your fault. Just hold on. I'm coming. I hung up and found 3 pairs of eyes fixed on me. Lincoln Park, I said. We need to go now. The SUV was waiting when we reached the ground floor, their head of security, a stone-faced woman named Park Ji-young, already in the driver's seat. Fastest route, Dae-hyun ordered as we piled in. Traffic laws are optional. Ji-young nodded once and pulled into traffic with the kind of aggressive precision that said she'd done this before. Jae-sung had his phone out, pulling up information with swift efficiency. The address is registered to Kang Dong-woo, 38, investment banker. Bonded to one Lee Hai-wan 3 years ago. He paused, his expression darkening. There are sealed records, police calls to the residence, all dismissed. Money talks, Tae-min said grimly. Not louder than us. Dae-hyun's hand found mine in the dark interior of the car, his grip grounding. Min-jun, when we get there, you're staying in the car until we've secured the situation. Like hell I am. He called me. He needs you safe. Dae-hyun's voice was firm but not unkind. If something happens to you, if this alpha decides to take his rage out on you instead, that helps no one. Let us handle the immediate threat. Then you can see your cousin. Every instinct screamed at me to fight this, to demand they let me help. But the logical part of my brain, the part that had kept me alive for 10 years, knew he was right. Fine, I bit out. But the second he's secure, you're the first person we bring to him, Jae-sung promised. The drive felt endless and far too short all at once. When we pulled up outside a pristine brownstone with manicured hedges and expensive cars lining the street, my stomach churned. This was it. The place where Hai-wan had been slowly dying for 3 years while I'd been too afraid to do anything about it. Stay here, Dae-hyun ordered, already moving toward the door with his brothers flanking him. Ji-young remained in the driver's seat, her hand resting casually on what I realized was a concealed weapon. They were taking this seriously, treating it like the dangerous situation it was. I watched through the tinted windows as Dae-hyun knocked polite, almost conversational. When no one answered, Tae-min stepped forward and did something to the lock that had the door swinging open in seconds. They disappeared inside. Silence stretched. Every second felt like an hour. Then I heard a roar of rage that shook the windows, followed by the unmistakable sound of a fight. Crashes, shouting, the primal snarl of an alpha protecting territory. Stay in the car, Ji-young said when I reached for the door handle. He's my cousin. And they're trained for this. You're not. Stay in the car. More crashing, then sudden awful silence. My heart hammered against my ribs. What if something had happened? What if Dong-woo had hurt them? What if the front door opened? Jae-sung emerged first, supporting a small figure wrapped in a blanket. Even from here, I could see the bruises darkening Hae-won's face, the way he moved like everything hurt. I was out of the car before Ji-young could stop me. Hey, Won! His name tore from my throat. He looked up and the recognition in his eyes, the real recognition, not the hollow emptiness I'd seen 3 years ago, broke something in my chest. Juna, he whispered, using the childhood nickname only he'd ever called me. You came. I caught him as he stumbled forward, his weight slight and fragile in my arms. He'd always been smaller than me, but now he felt like he might blow away. I'm here, I said fiercely. I've got you. You're safe now. He collapsed against me, his whole body shaking with sobs he'd probably been holding back for years. Dae-hyun and Tae-min emerged from the house, a third figure between them, Dong-woo, bloodied and furious, struggling against their hold. You have no right, he snarled, his alpha presence rolling out in waves that made my knees weak. He's mine, my bonded Omega. You can't. We just did. Dae-hyun's voice was colder than I'd ever heard it. And if you ever come near him again, if you even think about him, I will personally make sure you lose everything. Your job, your reputation, your freedom. Do you understand me? He's bonded to me. Dongwoo's eyes found Haiwan, and something possessive and ugly twisted his features. The bond can't be broken. He'll come back. He always comes back. Watch me. Haiwan's voice was barely a whisper, but it carried. Watch me never come back. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Police and paramedics, Jae-sung explained at my questioning look. We called them before we went in, documented everything we found. He's going to have a very hard time explaining away the evidence. As the authorities arrived, as statements were taken and photographs documented the nightmare Haiwan had been living, I held my cousin and tried not to think about how close I'd come to this same fate, how close I might still be. Because watching the paramedics load Dong-woo into an ambulance while he screamed about his rights and his property, I saw exactly what I'd been afraid of my entire adult life. I saw what happened when a bond went wrong, and standing in the flashing lights with Haiwan trembling in my arms and the Choi brothers coordinating with police, one thought crystallized with brutal clarity. I couldn't do this. I couldn't risk becoming what Haiwan had been. Couldn't risk losing myself to a bond, no matter how good it felt in the moment. The Choi brothers had been kind tonight, gentle, respectful. But bonds change people. Power corrupted. And I'd just been reminded in the most visceral way possible why I'd spent 10 years hiding. Min-jun, Dae-hyun's voice cut through my spiraling thoughts. He stood a few feet away, his expression carefully neutral. But I saw the moment he read my face. Saw the exact second he realized what I was thinking. Don't, he said quietly. Don't do this. I have to. No, you don't. This, he gestured to the chaos around us. This isn't us. We would never. You can't promise that. My arms tightened around Haiwan. No one can promise that. The bond changes things, changes people. And I won't risk ending up like this. Min-jun, please, take us to the hospital, I said to Ji-young, cutting Dae-hyun off. Haiwan needs medical attention. Min-jun, Tae-min started. Thank you for your help tonight. The words came out formal, distant, professional. I'm grateful, truly. But this us, it was a mistake. I see that now. You're scared. Jae-sung moved closer, his expression pleading. You're letting fear make this decision. I'm letting reality make this decision. I met his eyes, willing him to understand. I watched my cousin lose himself for 3 years. Watched him become nothing more than an extension of someone else's will. And tonight proved that I was right to be afraid. Right to hide. Right to never let anyone close enough to do this to me. We're not him, Dae-hyun said desperately. We would never hurt you like that. Never control you. You say that now. Everyone says that now. But the bond doesn't control you unless you let someone abuse it, Tae-min interrupted. Dong-woo is a monster who used a sacred connection to torture someone weaker than him. That's not what we would do. That's not who we are. I can't take that risk. My voice broke despite my best efforts. I'm sorry. I know you think you care about me. I know tonight was... I couldn't finish that sentence. Couldn't acknowledge how perfect it had felt in their arms. But I can't do this. I won't. Haiwan stirred against me, his voice barely audible. Jonah, don't let him ruin this for you. These alphas, they're different. I can smell it. Feel it. You're hurt and traumatized and not thinking clearly. I'm hurt and traumatized and thinking more clearly than I have in 3 years. He pulled back enough to look at me, his eyes fever bright but lucid. Don't make my mistakes your reason to be alone forever. Please. But I was already shaking my head, already building the walls back up brick by brick. The paramedics approached with a stretcher, ready to take Hae-won for evaluation. As they loaded him into the ambulance, I climbed in beside him, not looking back at the three alphas standing on the sidewalk, not letting myself see the devastation on their faces, not acknowledging the way my wolf howled in protest, clawing at my chest like it was trying to tear free and run back to them. The ambulance doors closed, sealing me in with my cousin and my choices. And as we pulled away, I finally let myself look through the small window. The Choi brothers stood exactly where I'd left them, three figures silhouetted against the flashing lights, watching me disappear. I turned away before I could see if any of them tried to follow. This was the right choice, the safe choice. So why did it feel like my heart was being ripped from my chest? So why did it feel like my heart was being ripped from my chest? Junah! Hae-won's hand found mine in the cramped ambulance, his fingers cold and weak. You're crying. I hadn't realized. I touched my face and my fingers came away wet. I'm fine, I lied, wiping roughly at my cheeks. Just worried about you. Liar. But his voice held affection rather than accusation. You're thinking about them, the alphas who came for me. Who are they to you? Nothing. No one. The words tasted like ash. Just people I work for. Employers don't look at their employees the way they were looking at you. He squeezed my hand with what little strength he had. And employees don't smell like... He inhaled shakily. Jana, your scent. It's changed. Sweeter. Like your don't. I pulled my hand away. Don't say it. Like you're falling in love. He finished anyway, his eyes too knowing despite the pain medication beginning to cloud them. That's what love smells like on an Omega. Rain and honey and something warm. You smell exactly like our mother did when she talked about our father. I'm not falling in love. I'm being smart. I'm protecting myself. From what? From being happy? His head lolled against the pillow, eyes drifting closed. I made mistakes, Juna. I chose wrong. But that doesn't mean every choice is wrong. Those alphas tonight, they could have just called the police. Could have sent someone else. But they came themselves. All three of them. For a stranger. Because he mattered to you. That doesn't mean... It means everything. His breathing evened out as the medication pulled him under. Don't be like me. Don't realize too late that you threw away something real because you were too afraid to reach for it. His hand went limp in mine as sleep claimed him. I sat in the harsh, fluorescent light of the ambulance, surrounded by the beeping of monitors and the antiseptic smell of medical equipment, and tried to convince myself I'd made the right choice. The ambulance pulled up to Northwestern Memorial's emergency entrance. Paramedics moved with efficient speed, transferring Hae-won to a gurney and wheeling him through automatic doors that hissed open. I followed on numb legs. Relationship to the patient? A nurse asked, clipboard in hand. Cousin, I'm his emergency contact. Had been for 3 years, though Dongwoo had made sure I never got any calls. Lee Hae-won, 28 years old, bonded Omega, history of domestic violence. The words felt clinical, detached, like I was describing a stranger rather than family. We'll take good care of him. She touched my arm gently. There's a waiting room on the second floor. Someone will update you as soon as we have more information. I nodded, not trusting my voice. The waiting room was nearly empty at this hour, just a few scattered families in various states of exhaustion and worry. I chose a chair in the corner, as far from the others as possible, and pulled out my phone. 17 missed calls, 32 text messages, all from them. My finger hovered over the notification, warring between the desperate need to read what they'd said and the certainty that reading would only make this harder. I opened the messages. Please don't do this. Dae-hyun, we can talk about this. Whatever you're feeling, we can work through it. Jae-sung, you're not your cousin. We're not him. Give us a chance to prove it. Tae-min Min-jun, please. Just answer so we know you're safe. Dae-hyun, I'm following the ambulance. I need to see you. Tae-min. My head snapped up. He was here, in this building, looking for me. I should have felt trapped, should have been angry at the boundary violation. Instead, I felt something dangerously close to relief. No, I couldn't. My phone buzzed with a new message. Second floor waiting room. I can smell you. Please don't run. Tae-min. I looked up to find him standing in the doorway, still wearing the clothes from earlier, his hair messed from running his hands through it too many times. He looked wrecked, desperate, beautiful. I told you we were done, I said quietly, aware of the other people in the waiting room trying not to stare. No! He crossed the space between us in 3 long strides, dropping into the chair beside mine. You told me you were scared. That's not the same thing. It's the same enough. Min-jun, please look at me. I kept my eyes fixed on the scuffed linoleum floor. Looking at him felt dangerous. Looking at him meant acknowledging how much I wanted to lean into his warmth, to let him hold me together while I fell apart. I can't do this with you right now, I whispered. My cousin is being taken care of by excellent doctors who will do their jobs whether you're sitting here breaking both our hearts or not. His hand found mine, threading our fingers together. Talk to me. Tell me what's really going on in your head. I saw what a bond can do, what it did to Haewon. You saw what abuse can do. That's not the same thing, isn't it? I finally looked at him, letting him see the fear that had been eating at me for years. The bond gave Dong-woo power over him, complete, absolute power. And he used it to destroy everything Haewon was until there was nothing left but an empty shell. Because he's a monster who abused a sacred connection. Taemin's grip tightened. Min-jun, a bond is like any tool. It can build or it can destroy depending on who's wielding it. A hammer can build a house or shatter a skull. That doesn't make the hammer evil. It makes the person using it evil. But the bond amplifies everything, makes the good better and the bad unbearable. Yes, he didn't deny it. But that's why you have to choose carefully. That's why trust matters. That's why we've been asking for time to prove ourselves, rather than demanding you accept a bond immediately. What if I can't trust? What if I'm too broken to ever? You're not broken. The words were fierce, absolute. You're careful, you're cautious. You're protecting yourself the only way you know how. That's not broken, that's survival. But Min-jun, at some point, survival has to become living. And living means taking risks. I can't risk this. Can't risk becoming what he became. You won't. Tae-min shifted, angling his body toward mine. Do you know why? Because you're aware. Because you're vigilant. Because you know what the warning signs look like. If we ever made you feel controlled or manipulated or like you were losing yourself, you'd fight back. You wouldn't let it happen quietly. You're too strong for that. Haewon was strong too, before. Was he watching for the signs? Did he understand what was happening before it was too late? Taemin's thumb traced circles on the back of my hand. Or did he go into that bond thinking love would be enough to protect him? I thought about Haewon at 19, so desperately in love with Dong-woo, so convinced that their connection was special, that their bond would be different. He hadn't been watching for warning signs, hadn't been protecting himself. He'd just been trusting. That's different, I said, but the argument felt weaker now. How? Because the words stuck in my throat. Because you what? Tae-min leaned closer, his scent wrapping around me. Because you're too afraid to trust? Because you've convinced yourself that being alone is safer than being loved? Because you'd rather spend your life hiding than risk being happy? Yes. The admission came out broken. Yes, because all of that is true. I'm terrified, Tae-min. I'm so fucking terrified of ending up like him that I can barely breathe when I think about accepting a bond. When I think about letting you and your brothers close enough to hurt me. We won't hurt you. You can't promise that. I can promise that we'll never deliberately hurt you. never use the bond against you, never try to control or manipulate or diminish you. His free hand came up to cut my face, and I can promise that if we ever fuck up, if we ever cross a line or make you feel unsafe, you call us on it immediately and we fix it. No excuses, no explanations, just action. What if calling you on it isn't enough? What if the bond makes it so I can't? Then you have fail-safes. His expression was deadly serious. Your cousin, G. Young. Hell, Lord Brennan, if you trust him. People outside the bond who you give permission to intervene if they see warning signs. People who will pull you out if something goes wrong. I blinked at him. You'd agree to that? To having someone monitor? I'd agree to anything that makes you feel safe enough to give us a real chance. He pressed his forehead to mine. Min-jun, I'm not asking you to bond with us tonight. I'm not even asking you to trust us completely. I'm just asking you not to end this because you're scared. Fear is a terrible reason to walk away from something that could be extraordinary. What if it's not extraordinary? What if it's just ordinary and disappointing, and I've blown up my entire life for nothing? Then at least you'll know. At least you'll have tried instead of spending the rest of your life wondering what if. His breath ghosted across my lips. Don't you want to know? Don't you want to find out if this thing between us is as real as it feels? I did. God help me, I did. I'm so tired of being afraid, I whispered. Then stop. Just for tonight, stop being afraid and be with me. Be with us. Let us prove that we're worth the risk. Before I could respond, my phone rang. The hospital, about Haiwan. I answered immediately. Yes? Mr. Park? Your cousin is stable and asking for you. Room 307 if you'd like to see him. I'll be right there. I hung up and stood, Tae-min rising with me. I need to. I know, go. I'll wait here. You don't have to. Yes, I do. He caught my hand again, bringing it to his lips. I'll wait as long as you need. Hours. Days. However long it takes for you to realize we're not going anywhere. The kiss he pressed to my knuckles felt like a promise and a plea all at once. I pulled away before I could do something stupid like kiss him properly, like let him see how close I was to surrendering completely. Room 307 was on the third floor. Hye-won lay in the bed looking impossibly small against the white sheets, hooked up to various monitors and IVs. But his eyes were clear when they found mine. Juna. He tried to sit up, wincing. Don't. I crossed to the bed, gently pushing him back down. You need to rest. I need to talk to you first. His hand caught mine. About what happened, about everything. We don't have to do this now. Yes, we do. Because if I don't say this now, while I have the clarity and the courage, I might never say it. He took a shaky breath. I was wrong, Juna, about so many things. I thought love would be enough. I thought the bond would protect us. I thought I could fix him if I just tried hard enough, loved him enough, submitted enough. Hye-won, let me finish. Tears tracked down his bruised face. I stayed because I was ashamed, because leaving meant admitting I'd made a mistake, meant admitting that the bond I'd been so sure was fate was actually just a trap I'd walked into willingly. I stayed because I thought it was too late to save myself. But tonight, when you came, when those alphas came for me, even though they didn't know me, his voice broke. Tonight I remembered what it felt like to be worth saving. You were always worth saving. I didn't feel like it. Not for a long time. But I do now. And Jun-ah, those alphas who helped me, the way they looked at you, the way they moved heaven and earth because you asked, he squeezed my hand. That's not what Dongwoo and I had. That's not what abuse looks like. That's what real love looks like. And you're throwing it away because you're using my mistakes as your excuse to stay afraid. I'm not, you are. And I understand why, I do. But Juna, please don't let what happened to me ruin your chance at happiness. Please don't use me as your reason to never let anyone close. I couldn't bear it if my suffering became your cage. I sank into the chair beside his bed, my carefully constructed arguments crumbling to dust. What if I try and it goes wrong? The question came out small, broken. What if I let them in and they break me the way Dongwoo broke you? Then you fight back. You get out. You survive. He turned his head to look at me fully. But Juna, what if you try and it goes right? What if you let them in and they cherish you the way you deserve? What if you spend the rest of your life wondering what you missed out on because you were too afraid to reach for it? I closed my eyes, Taemin's words and Hae-won's combining into a truth I could no longer ignore. I was using fear as a shield, using Hae-won's pain as justification for my own cowardice. But fear was a terrible reason to walk away from something that felt like coming home. They're still here, aren't they? Hae-won asked softly. Waiting for you? One of them is, in the waiting room. Then go. He released my hand. Go before you talk yourself out of it again. Go before fear wins. What if I'm making a mistake? Then you'll survive it. You're stronger than you think, Juna. Stronger than I ever was. And those alphas? They're not Dongwoo. Anyone with eyes can see that. I stood on shaking legs, torn between the safety of solitude and the terrifying possibility of happiness. I love you, I said quietly. I'm sorry I stayed away so long. I love you too. Now go get your alphas before they storm the hospital looking for you. I left before I could change my mind, my heart pounding as I made my way back to the second floor. Tae-min was exactly where I'd left him, but he wasn't alone anymore. Dae-hyun and Jae-sung sat on either side of him, the three of them looking exhausted and worried and heartbreakingly hopeful when they saw me. All three stood as I approached. Min-jun, Dae-hyun started. I'm scared, I interrupted. I'm absolutely terrified. But I'm more terrified of spending the rest of my life alone because I was too afraid to try. So if the offer still stands, if you're still willing to be patient while I figure out how to trust this, I didn't get to finish. Tae-min closed the distance between us, his hands framing my face as he kissed me like I was air, and he'd been drowning. When we finally broke apart, all three of them were there, surrounding me with their warmth and their sense and their presence. Does this mean Jae-sung's voice was rough with hope? It means I'm trying, I said. I'm choosing to try. No promises beyond that. But I'm here, and I'm not running. Not yet. That's enough, Dae-hyun said fiercely. That's more than enough. And surrounded by them, in the sterile hospital waiting room at some ungodly hour of the morning, I finally let myself believe that maybe this could work. That maybe some bonds were worth the risk. Come home with us, Dae-hyun said softly, his hand finding mine. We're not asking for anything you're not ready to give. Just come home. Let us take care of you. I glanced back toward the hallway leading to Hae-won's room. I should stay. He needs rest and medical care, both of which he's getting. Jae-sung moved closer, his presence warm at my back. You need sleep, food, time to process everything that's happened tonight. You can't take care of him if you're running on empty. He was right. My body felt like it was held together by adrenaline and stubbornness alone. Okay, I whispered. Take me home. The penthouse felt different returning to it now. Before, it had been their space that I was visiting. Now, as Tae-min guided me through the door, with a hand on the small of my back, it felt like somewhere I belonged. The thought terrified and thrilled me in equal measure. Shower, Dae-hyun decided, already moving toward what I assumed was the master bathroom. You're covered in hospital smell and stress. It'll help you relax. I don't have clothes. We'll find you something. Jae-sung was already heading toward a bedroom. Go on. We'll have food ready when you're done. I wanted to argue, wanted to maintain some independence, some control over the situation. But the truth was, I was exhausted, wrung out, and the idea of hot water washing away the night's horror sounded like salvation. The bathroom was exactly as excessive as I expected, all marble and glass, with a shower that could fit 6 people comfortably and had more settings than my car. I stripped off my clothes, catching my reflection in the mirror. The marks from earlier were still visible on my skin, not claiming bites, but evidence of their mouths, their attention, their desire, fading hickeys on my throat and collarbone, fingerprint bruises on my hips where Tae-min had gripped me. I looked thoroughly claimed, even without a bond. The shower was bliss, hot water pounding against tense muscles, expensive soap that smelled like cedar and rain like them. I stood under the spray until my fingers pruned and the water ran cold. When I emerged wrapped in a towel that was softer than anything I owned, I found clothes laid out on the counter. Sweatpants that would be too big, a t-shirt that smelled like Jae-sung, and clean underwear still in the package. They'd thought of everything. I dressed, rolling the waistband of the sweatpants several times so they wouldn't fall off, and padded back into the main living space. All three of them were in the kitchen, moving around each other with practiced ease as they assembled what looked like an entire meal. Yunguk soup, rice, various banchan spread across the counter. "You cooked?" I asked, surprised. "Don't sound so shocked." Tae-min shot me a grin over his shoulder. "We're not completely helpless. Grandmother made sure we could take care of ourselves." "Besides," Jae-sung added, ladling soup into a bowl, "ordering food at 4 in the morning is complicated. This was faster." Dae-hyun pulled out a chair at the kitchen island. "Sit, eat. You haven't had anything since dinner." I obeyed, too tired to argue, and accepted the bowl Jae-sung placed in front of me. The first spoonful nearly made me moan, rich, savory, perfect. "Good?" Tae-min asked, taking the seat beside me. "Really good." I took another spoonful, then another, suddenly ravenous. "Thank you. For everything. For tonight. For Hae-won. For don't." Dae-hyun's voice was gentle but firm. "Don't thank us for doing what any decent person would do. What we would have done regardless of how we feel about you. But you did it faster because of how you feel about me." "Maybe," Jae-sung smiled. "Does that bother you?" "No." I realized it was true. "No, it doesn't." We ate in comfortable silence, the kind that only comes when words aren't necessary. When I'd finished everything they'd put in front of me, Dae-hyun cleared the dishes while Jae-sung made tea. "What happens now?" I asked, cradling the warm cup between my palms. "With Dongwoo, I mean. Will Hae-won be safe?" "We've already filed charges on his behalf," Dae-hyun said. "Assault, false imprisonment, abuse of a bond. Our legal team is handling everything. He'll never get near Hae-won again. And the bond, between them, can be dissolved through the courts in cases of abuse." Jae-sung's expression was grim. "It's rare, but it happens. It'll be painful for Hae-won, but he'll survive it, and he'll be free." Free. The word hung in the air, heavy with implication. "I need to tell you something," I said quietly, setting down my cup. "About why I hid. About why I've been pretending to be a beta for 10 years. "You don't have to," Tae-min started. "I do. If we're going to try this, if I'm going to try, you need to know." I took a breath, centering myself. "I presented at 16. Normal age, normal everything. But my parents had just died 6 months before. Car accident. I was living with Hae-won and his family." The words came easier than I expected, like lancing a wound that had been festering for years. Hae-won presented 3 months after I did. We were both omegas, both vulnerable, both suddenly very interesting to the alphas in our pack. I stared at my hands. He fell hard and fast for Dongwoo. I tried to warn him, tried to tell him that Dongwoo felt wrong, smelled wrong, acted wrong. But he was 19 and in love and convinced I was just jealous. "You weren't jealous," Dae-hyun said quietly. "No, I was terrified. Because I could see what Dongwoo was from the beginning. A predator looking for prey. An alpha who wanted an omega, not as a partner, but as a possession." I wrapped my arms around myself. They bonded 6 months later. Within weeks, Hae-won stopped calling me, stopped responding to messages. When I finally saw him, he was different, hollow, like someone had scooped out everything that made him Hae-won and left just the shell. Jae-sung's hand found my shoulder, grounding. I tried to help, tried to get him to leave, but he couldn't. The bond wouldn't let him, or maybe he was too far gone to even want to leave. "I don't know," my voice cracked. "So I ran, left Seattle, came to Chicago, forged documents that said I was a beta, because I swore I would never let anyone have that kind of power over me. Never let anyone take away my choices, my will, myself. And then we noticed you," Tae-min said. "And then you noticed me." I finally looked up, meeting their gazes one by one. And every instinct I've honed for 10 years told me to run. But something else, something deeper, told me to stay. And I don't know which instinct to trust anymore. "Trust this one." Dae-hyun knelt in front of me, taking my hands in his. Trust the one that brought you back to us tonight. Trust the one that's telling you we're different. What if I'm wrong? What if I trust you and then we'll prove you right? Jae-sung moved behind me, his hands settling on my shoulders. Every single day will prove that you made the right choice, that we're worth the risk, that this, his hands squeezed gently, is worth fighting your fear for. I'm still scared, I admitted. Good. Tae-min appeared on my other side. Fear means you're taking this seriously, means you're not rushing in blind. We don't want you fearless, Min-jun. We want you aware, cautious, vigilant, because that vigilance will keep all of us honest. I don't know how to do this, how to let someone in without losing myself. We'll figure it out together. Dae-hyun pressed a kiss to my knuckles. One day at a time, one choice at a time. No pressure, no expectations. Just us learning how to be what you need while you learn how to trust that we can be. I looked at the three of them surrounding me, these powerful alphas who could have anyone, who could demand anything, who instead were offering patience and understanding in time. I want to try, I said, really try. Not just agree to 1 week and then run at the first sign of trouble. I want to see if this can work. Then let's start now. Jae-sung's hand slid from my shoulders down my arms, his touch raising goosebumps. Let's start with honesty. Do you want us, Min-jun? Not in some distant future. Right now. Do you want us? My pulse jumped. Yes. Do you trust us not to hurt you? Tae-min asked. I trust that you don't want to hurt me. I trust that you mean what you say right now. The rest, I swallowed hard. The rest I'm choosing to have faith in. That's enough. Dae-hyun stood, pulling me to my feet. That's more than enough. Jae-sung turned me to face him, his hands gentle on my waist. We're not going to bond you tonight. We're not going to mark you. But Min-jun, we are going to claim you in every other way. We're going to touch you and taste you and make you ours in every way that doesn't involve a permanent bond. Is that okay? Heat flooded through me. Yes. Then come to bed. Tae-min took my hand. Let us show you what it means to be cherished. They led me back to the bedroom from hours before the one that felt like a lifetime ago. The bed was still rumpled from where we'd abandoned it, evidence of intimacy interrupted. But this time, there would be no interruptions. Dae-hyun sat on the edge of the bed, pulling me to stand between his knees. His hands found the hem of the borrowed t-shirt, his eyes asking permission. I nodded. He pulled it off slowly, reverently, like unwrapping something precious. Cool air hit my skin, and I fought the urge to cover myself. Beautiful, he murmured, hands skimming up my sides. So beautiful. Jae-sung appeared behind me, his chest warm against my back. These two. His fingers hooked in the waistband of the sweatpants. They worked together to strip me down to nothing, their touches careful, worshipful, nothing like the frantic need from earlier. This was deliberate, intentional. This was them proving a point. When I stood naked before them, Tae-min circled me slowly, his eyes tracking over every inch of exposed skin. Perfect, he decided. Absolutely perfect. Your turn, I said, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. I want to see you, all of you. They exchanged glances, some silent communication passing between them before they started undressing. I watched, transfixed, as 3 perfect alpha bodies were revealed, all lean muscle and golden skin, scars here and there that told stories I wanted to learn. Dae-hyun pulled me down onto the bed, arranging me in the center. Jae-sung stretched out on one side, Tae-min on the other, and Dae-hyun settled between my legs. Tell us if anything feels wrong, Dae-hyun said. If anything scares you or makes you uncomfortable. Promise me you'll tell us. I promise. Good. His hands slid up my thighs, spreading them wider. Now let us worship you properly. What followed was a lesson in restraint and devotion. They touched me like I was something holy, something to be savored rather than conquered. Hands and mouths mapping every inch of my skin, finding places I didn't know were sensitive, drawing sounds from my throat I'd never made before. Jae-sung claimed my mouth while his hands explored my chest, fingers circling and teasing until I was arching into his touch. Tae-min focused on my neck, finding the scent gland there, and laving attention on it that made my wolf whine with need. And Dae-hyun settled between my thighs and proceeded to destroy me with his mouth. Please, I gasped, not even sure what I was begging for. Please, I need— We know what you need, Jae-sung murmured against my lips. We've got you. Just feel. I stopped thinking, stopped worrying, stopped being afraid. I just felt their hands and mouths and the slide of skin against skin, felt the building pleasure that coiled tighter and tighter in my gut, felt the bond trying to form, that pull toward them that was primal and undeniable, but they didn't let it snap into place. Didn't bite down on the glands that would seal us together. They just loved me, thoroughly, completely. When I finally shattered, it was with their names on my lips and their scents wrapped around me like a blanket. They held me through the aftershocks, whispering praise and pressing kisses to whatever skin they could reach. That, Tae-min said eventually, was just the beginning. They took turns after that, each of them showing me different kinds of pleasure, different ways to connect without a bond. Jae-sung was playful and teasing, making me laugh even as he made me moan. Tae-min was intense and focused, his attention absolute and overwhelming. Dae-hyun was steady and thorough, learning what I liked and then exploiting that knowledge ruthlessly. By the time dawn started lightening the sky, I was boneless and sated and more thoroughly claimed than any mark could have made me. No bond, I said drowsily, curled between them. But I'm yours anyway, aren't I? Only if you want to be, Dae-hyun said, but I could hear the hope in his voice. I want to be. The words felt like truth, like inevitability. Not forever yet, not permanent, but right now in this moment, I'm yours. And we're yours, Jae-sung added, for as long as you'll have us. What happens now, I asked. When the sun comes up and we have to face reality again? Now, Tae-min said, we take this one day at a time. We show you that you made the right choice. We prove that we're worth the risk you're taking. And when you're ready, Dae-hyun's hand found mine in the tangle of limbs. When you're absolutely certain, we'll make this permanent. We'll bond you properly, make you ours in every way. What if I'm never ready? Then we'll love you anyway. Jae-sung pressed a kiss to my temple. Bonded or not, marked or not, you're ours, Min-jun, and we're not letting you go. I believed them. For the first time in 10 years, I believed that maybe I could have this. Could have love without losing myself. Could have connection without cage. Could have them. I need to see Hai-wan later, I said. Check on him. We'll take you. Dae-hyun's voice was already fading with exhaustion. After we sleep. And then? Then we figure out the rest. Tae-min's arm tightened around my waist. Together. Together. The word felt like promise and possibility all at once. I closed my eyes, surrounded by their warmth and their scents and their steady breathing, and let myself drift. For 10 years I'd been running. For 10 years I'd been hiding. But maybe finally I'd found somewhere safe to stop. Not because the world was suddenly less dangerous, not because bonds couldn't still be abused or trust couldn't be broken, but because I'd found 3 alphas who saw me, really saw me, and chose to cherish rather than cage. 3 alphas who made me want to risk everything. 3 alphas who felt like home. My phone buzzed somewhere in the discarded pile of clothes. Probably Hae-won's doctor, or the hospital, or any of a dozen things that needed my attention. But for now, in this moment, I let it go to voicemail. Because right now I was exactly where I needed to be. Exactly where I wanted to be. And for the first time since I'd presented at 16, that was enough. The sun rose over Chicago, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. A new day, a new beginning. The end of hiding, the start of living. And surrounded by 3 alphas who'd somehow made me believe in bonds again, I finally understood what my cousin had meant. Some risks were worth taking. Some people were worth the fear. And some loves, rare, precious, terrifying loves, were worth fighting for. Even if it scared me. Especially because it scared me. Because the things worth having were never safe. But with the right people, they could be worth it anyway. My wolf settled for the first time in years, content and calm, and finally home. And I slept. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as can ever imagine. So do check it out. If that ending wrecked you, hit subscribe. The next chapter drops soon.